Hello, everybody. My name is Dee, and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today is Friday. It's time for a Friday Reads, and I cannot believe the month is it's almost Christmas. I can't believe it. This month has flown by, but I was able to get a lot of reading done this week. I hope you all have too. Hopefully you all have some relaxing time around the holidays for whatever you're celebrating. If you celebrated Hanukkah, I hope you had a very happy Hanukkah. And yeah, so let me just get right into it as to what I've finished and what I will be reading. So the first thing I want to mention before I show my physical books is I finished All I Want for Christmas by Jenny Hale. I did have this book on ebook, and I have to say, I mentioned last week that I absolutely love Jenny Hale. I've read a lot of her books. I have really loved a lot of them, but this wasn't my favorite. I never really got along with, or I never really gelled with the main character, especially the male character. The male character, this was kind of it wasn't really hate to love. It was like kind of annoyance to love kind of book. The main character, the male love interest, was a real jerk in the beginning of the book, and it took me like 3/4 of the way into the book to really kind of get on board with what was happening between the two of them and the change in their relationship. It just wasn't my favorite. It just took me a while to really kind of like the characters, and I wound up giving it 3 stars. So although I still love Jenny Hale, it just wasn't my favorite. So the next book that I finished was Christmas Eve at Friday Harbor by Lisa Kleypas. I loved this book so much. This was a really short book. It was just over 200 pages. I read this in one sitting in just a couple of hours. I flew through it, and I really loved it. So this follows 2 characters, Mark and Maggie, mainly. Mark is, at the beginning of the book, his sister has just died, her sister, and he becomes the sole caregiver to his niece, who is only 6 years old. And since her mom's death, she hasn't spoken a word. And Maggie, the other main character, she's a new kind of widow. Her husband, she wound up marrying her husband, and shortly after they got married, he wound up getting cancer and passing away. So they meet, and through certain circumstances, Maggie forms a connection with the little girl, and the little girl begins speaking, and it goes from there. And I absolutely loved this. I thought it was such a sweet story, but with a good grounding plot in it as well. I really loved the 6-year-old. I think she was my favorite, even though, I was on board with the romance, but it wasn't like heavy romance. This book was just more sweet, heartwarming, just, kind of one of those books where the characters need a lot of healing. And it was really great. I really loved this book. I wish it was a little bit longer because, again, it was just over 200 pages, but what can you do? The next book that I finished was A Christmas Carol, the graphic novel by Charles Dickens. And I've read A Christmas Carol, the full-length novel, many times. I absolutely love it. I thought it would be fun to give it a try in graphic novel format, and it fit a Very Merry Readathon, which I'm participating in this week. It ends on Sunday night. So this fit one of the categories, which is read a book with pictures in it. And yes, I absolutely loved this. The artwork was actually very, very good, I thought. Yeah, and then the ghost. I really loved this. It's not the same as the full-length novel, obviously, but I really enjoyed having this sort of version with the pictures in it and just being able to experience it that way. So, and I thought it was pretty good, in terms of getting everything, the main points of the story across in this graphic format. So yeah, absolutely loved this. So the last book that I finished this past week, and again, I read it in like a little over one sitting. It was just 2 days and under 24 hours, and that was One Day in December by Josie Silver. I loved this book. Oh my gosh. So this follows a girl named Lori and a guy named Jack, as well as her best friend, who I can't think of the name at the moment. But Lori, it starts off, and this follows a 10-year span. So the first part is 2008, where she is just finishing university. She lives with her best friend, and she spots someone while sitting on a bus, a boy who is sitting in the bus stop. And they lock eyes. You know, it's one of those kind of love at first sight type of deals. But then the bus pulls away, and she thinks she'll never see him again, until the next year in 2009, when Kathy has been wanting to introduce her best friend to the love of her life, the person that she thinks she's going to marry, absolutely crazy about. And when she meets him, he turns out to be the boy from the bus stop. And it goes from there. You know, there's a lot of different chance meetings, and you see how it progresses every year. You know, it's just such a feel-good story. I absolutely loved it. I haven't really read anything like this in the past few years, so I really recommend it for a holiday read. And yes, and I love this cover. This is actually the UK cover because I got it from the Book Depository. So yes, 2 people, 10 chances, one unforgettable love story. One Day in December. And one of the blurbs says, gorgeous. Readers are going to love it. So I just definitely give this a go if you like Christmas romance. Okay, so I thought that was pretty good. I was able to finish 4 books during the week, and I'm really happy with that. And now I will be continuing on, because A Very Merry Readathon ends on Sunday night, and I still have 2 more books that I have to read for that readathon. But again, these books I really think I'm going to fly through. The first book that I plan on starting tonight is Christmas Camp by Karen Shaler. This author is the author of a lot of my favorite Hallmark movies, my favorite Netflix Christmas movies. She writes a lot for Lifetime, Netflix, and Hallmark. And last year, if you saw the Netflix film A Christmas Prince, she was the author of that. So I knew that I wanted to read this right away. So this book follows a woman named Haley. She's kind of on the fast track, a corporate fast track in her agency. She's up for partner, but she doesn't have much holiday spirit and has kind of like a bitter attitude during the holidays. So her boss wants her to take over an account, but it's a Christmas toy account. And to sort of get her an attitude adjustment and get her to feel a little bit in the holiday spirit in order to handle the account, he sends her to Holly Lodge, which is this mountain resort. And I don't really know what happens with that. I think there's sort of a romance between her and the son of the lodge owner, I believe. But I'm sure I will love it. If it's anything like her films, the films that she writes the screenplays for, then I will absolutely love it. I can't wait to give this one a go. And this actually is a little bit meatier, thank God, than some of the other books. It's over 300 pages, so that's good. The next novel I'm going to show you, I really don't know much about, but I love this author, and that is The Noel Stranger by Richard Paul Evans. Every Christmas, I've talked about Richard Paul Evans. I love his books. His books always are so sweet and wonderful, and I absolutely love them. They always get me in the Christmas spirit. And yeah, when I saw he came out with a new one, he's come out with a new one like every year for the past few years. I buy them all because I just love, and I love the way his books look. So it's just, I cannot wait to get into this one. I don't know anything about the plot. I just kind of saw, whenever I see he comes out with a new Christmas book, it's kind of like an automatic buy for me. So I cannot wait to give this one a go as well. So that is it. That is all I have to show you. Those are all of the books that I will be concentrating on this week. I'm sure I will pick up a 3rd book at some point. I just don't know what that book is yet. But Yes. So I hope you're all having a good week. I hope you're all enjoying the holidays, no matter what you celebrate, or even if you don't. I just hope you're enjoying yourself in general. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend ahead. And I can't wait to see what you all are reading. And I will see you all very, very soon.